Welcome to Deep Thought. A single thought can impact millions. A single thought. I want y'all to really think about that, how powerful a single thought can be. And I'll share an example from my own life. Now, people, they familiar with this, my YouTube channel, and they are familiar with my books, everything I've done. Everything I've done, all the people whose lives are touched, people who sub my different channels, people who've bought my books, people who have been inspired to do stuff by me. Like, let me jump into that real quick. And let me just be clear. I'm just using this as an example. Because, when I suggest things to people, the best thing is to provide an example. The best sermon is an example. But so that's why I'm even sharing this, not to brag. Because let's just say I'm thankful. I'm thankful to the Creator for being able to be in this position. But with my books, I've had several young men and women say they were inspired to do stuff because of what they read in my books. Like, I remember there's a gentleman, he's a DJ, and he does DJing, but he also does community service. He does stuff that impacts thousands of people. But he told me, and he said this when I had this internet radio show, he told me on the air, he said, I inspired him. I know another young man who was inspired by my work. Several. I've known several young men who've come back to me and said they've gotten married and had, families, children, based on my work. It's impacted people constantly. And I've had people from around the world say they've changed their lives because of what they read in my book, like around the world, like doing some powerful things. Now, this is ultimately impact millions, ultimately. And not even directly, like you impact one, like, say you impact another writer. They write some stuff. Boom, that impacts people. All of that came down to a single thought I had in 1993. In 1993, when I said, I want to write. I was doing some other stuff at the time, but I said, what I really want to do is write. And I had written stuff before, but hadn't thought about it hard as a career. Like, I actually wrote skits for a play in college. Basically, I wrote the show in college and directed. I wrote it. So, in a single, but just that single thought, I want to write. Look how many is impacted. And that's outside. It's impacted my relationships. I have two beautiful sons. And I have two beautiful sons based on a writer. That's how me and my ex-wife, that's one thing that we clicked on. That is one thing we clicked on. We were both writers. And I've had relationships with other women who are writers. So that's a powerful thing. So it's impacted my own life. And really just opened up so many doors. A single thought. Now that's me. Understand something. Your thoughts, you don't know who it could affect. No telling what you want to do. You could touch thousands, even millions of people. Nothing is too small. Say that you're a cook or something. Say that you're a cook and you make good food. And you just decide, some people say, hey, why don't you start a restaurant or something? No telling how many people are moved by that. Say you start a restaurant. First of all, you're employing some people. People eating, they're getting good food. Some people might bring themselves, have a date at your restaurant. And, from that date, they become a family, get married, become a family, and, have some kids who are impacted by that. And those kids go on to do great things. How many other businesses, how many other people you inspire? People might be like, hey, that's some great thing. I want to do that myself. There's so many ways. Sometimes we don't know. We really don't know. I'm gonna tell you what, and and it's not always like you have to be famous. Like I've told the story before of this woman I worked with one time, and she was just a clerk. She wasn't super educated or anything. She was a clerk. Her husband was a janitor, and but the thing with her was her and her husband had 4 children. The children were extremely well educated because they really did a lot. They were leaders, everything. No telling how many people were impacted by that. And it is based down to just having good parents, or just even the thought to say, hey, I want to be a parent. I want to raise these children a certain way. Just the thought, a single thought, a thought is so powerful. It can actually create universes. It can create a path. Seriously, you just don't know. There are people who are elected presidents. They become leaders, prime ministers, and stuff in different countries. And the first move came off of a thought. There's someone who might say, you know what, I just want to be a teacher. And they work as a teacher for 30 years. But, if you look at their former students, there's so many of their former students that went on to do great things, to do stuff to impact other people. But much of it can be based on a teacher. Even myself being a writer, one of the things that influenced me was a teacher who I still keep up with on Facebook. He'll still clown me too. But because he was an English teacher, he taught public speaking. That helped me. He was a writer. He would direct school skits, school plays and stuff. And that influenced me. Because he would clown me, but he also kind of took me under his wing too. And I followed his example. So, but just him having the thought to do that, he's impacted people. And see, you have teachers like that, everything, And it could be something small. I mean, seriously, no matter what. No telling who that single thought can impact without even you knowing it. Like even trends out here, styles. Every single style started with one person. Every single style started with one person. Slang, stuff like that, words, telling where it could go. That's one thing. Whenever I hear like a slang term or a style or music, I always sit back and say, I wonder where that started at. Who started it? It was always like one person, but usually history doesn't record their names. But that person had a thought to do something. That's how powerful it is. Like when you think, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do for a living. It's no telling how many does that impact. Because ultimately, our lives touch each other. We don't live in a bubble. Only way you could even possibly live in a bubble, you got to be in a situation where you find some land somewhere that no one else owns, which is very rare, that you live totally by yourself. You don't interact with people. That's the only way. Otherwise, let's just be real. Most people, 99.99% of people interact with other people. So whatever you do impacts them. It could be good, bad, or whatever. In every single interaction. Relationships are important for that reason. And so a single thought, a single action, no telling what the cascading effect could be. It's like when people talk about, like especially in science fiction, the butterfly effect. Someone goes back in time, they step on a butterfly, then come back to their time, and then there's no beauty. That's because he stepped on the first butterfly. A single moment. A single choice. I want y'all to really think about that. And like I said, I want you to think about how powerful you are. Don't look in the mirror and say, I'm nothing. No telling whose lives you touching. Seriously, no telling who lives you touching, who you making feel good just by maybe smiling at them. Saying something to them, being supportive of them. There's no telling where. All right? No matter who you are. And it don't have to be millions. You could touch the lives profoundly of 10 people, but then those 10 people touch the lives profoundly of 10 other people. But then one person in that group goes on to do something to touch the lives of millions. But everything is traced back to your single thought, your single moment. I want y'all to really think on this, all right? And I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.